I saw these huge ornaments last week at the dollar store and knew exactly what I could do with one of them. When I got home, I also grabbed 3 small round ornaments and a pointed one as well. I'm starting by attaching the largest ornament to 2 of the smaller ones. I'm removing all of the tops except for the largest. Next, I'm painting the front half of the large ornament with a peachy color. While that dries, I'm adding buttons to the second ornament with a Q-tip dipped in black paint and connecting them with a small brush. When the peachy paint is dry, I'll paint the back half black and let that fully dry. I've sketched a face on the peachy side and I'll fill it in with black, red, and white paint to give it that classic nutcracker charm. On the third ornament, I'm adding a white triangle toward the bottom. While everything dries, I'm cutting a strip of a file folder about the length of the folder and 3/4 inches wide and painting both sides black. Once dry, I'm adding red trim along the top and bottom edges, then gluing the ends together into a circle to create the nutcracker's hat. Now I can attach the last 2 ornaments. I'll angle the top of the first one toward the back and glue it in place, then add the pointed ornament directly underneath. To finish, I'll thread string through the top ornament and slip on the hat so he's ready to hang. This oversized nutcracker was so fun to make, and I love that it used ornaments I already had.
Grab a foam ball and some colorful ornaments to make this Christmas decor. I'm starting with a styrofoam ball, and I'm going to use a craft knife to just cut a little divot out of the top. Now I've got some thick rope and I'm going to tie a knot in one end and place it in that little divot, cover it in hot glue so it's really secure. Now let's get some ornaments on here. It's best to pull the little silver cap off the end of each ornament, cover the tip with hot glue, and then push it into the styrofoam. This is going to hold really well. I'm going to start by covering the styrofoam ball with the larger, colorful ornaments, and then I can go back with some smaller ones and fill in the gaps. And I'm just going to keep going until the entire ball is covered. Now that the entire ball is covered, I can lift this up and hang this up. I hope this inspired you to go grab some colorful ornaments and make a fun ornament ball for Christmas.
Let's create some Christmas decor using ornament balls and pool noodles. Start by connecting the ends of the pool noodles using duct tape. Place the end of each pool noodle on the sides of a piece of duct tape that is about 12 inches long. Simply roll the noodles onto the tape and secure. Now, connect the other ends to create a complete circle with the pool noodles and duct tape those ends together. Now, sometimes pool noodles don't want to cooperate. If they don't want to twist or bend, just manipulate the pool noodles a little bit and they will become a little more pliable. Next, create a hanger. Cut a piece of rustic wire or wire that is covered with jute or other protective material that is about 25 inches long. Fold that in half. Slip this under the pool noodle so the loop is on one side. Bring the tails of the wire up and over the pool noodle and twist several times around the loop. This will create a secure hanger. Start gluing the ornament balls to the outer perimeter of the pool noodle circle with the top of the ornament facing down. So once it's glued to the side, you don't see that top tip from the front of the wreath. Now, here is a tip to consider. Don't put the glue directly on the pool noodle because the pool noodle will melt. Instead, put the glue on the ornament and let it cool for just a couple of seconds before attaching the ornament to the outside of the pool noodle. Once you place it on the pool noodle, hold it in place for a few seconds to let the glue cool and to make sure that it is secure. As you add ornaments and continue around the circle, you're going to want to put a little bit of glue in between the ornaments. This just helps to secure the ornaments even more so that nothing is going to fall off the wreath when it is finished. Have fun mixing and matching the colors of ornaments that you use. You just kind of place them in a design that works for you. Continue gluing around the entire pool noodle circle. Once the outside is done, start to glue ornaments to the inside of the circle. If you like, you can stop after you have glued one complete inside circle. Now, I want my wreath to be pretty hefty and full of ornaments, so I'm gluing an additional circle of ornaments. Just glue the one ornament to the other and hold in place until it is cooled. Once the outside and inside perimeter of the pool noodle circle is glued with ornaments, start to fill in the middle. This is when your wreath really starts to take shape. Once most of the pool noodle surface is covered, start to glue smaller sized ornaments to fill in the gaps. You can take it one step further and glue small picks of greenery or other Christmas picks to fill in the gaps. This just adds some more texture and interest to the ornament wreath. And now you have a dramatic and breathtaking Christmas wreath. Hang your wreath on a window outdoors as a spectacular Christmas wreath masterpiece.
So I went to my local Walmart and I found ornaments, and I really like the red and green. I think it's traditional Christmas, and I think it's going to be perfect for creating this hanging ball. So we're going to take the ornament, make sure all of the tops are secured, and if they're not, you can just come back in with a little bit of hot glue. What we have here is our glue skillet, and I'm just going to dip that ornament top into the skillet, and that's actually going to secure it even more so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just poke it right into the ornament. So as you can see, it creates a much larger ornament than using the smaller ones. And all we have to do is just alternate between each color. So the cool thing about this ornament ball is that you can do it in whatever color scheme you would like. There are so many different colored ornaments out there and so many different choices and selections. And you can also be using unusual shapes as well. So I'm just alternating so we have somewhat of a pattern. But if you're using the smaller ones, it doesn't really make a huge difference. And another thing that I did is I actually just poked some holes into it. So what I did is I just took the ornaments and poked them throughout. That way we have our guideline and we don't have to worry about doing it as we add each ornament. So now what we can do is we can come back in with our next layer. And again, like I said, don't worry about any of the gaps at this point in time because we are going to come back in with some extra little ornaments. We have one final ornament left to add, but it's not going to fit perfectly in between. So we are going to need to add an artificial stem. And you can also do this to every single one. We actually showed that in the last video we did last year for Home Talk. So we're going to just let that sit for a minute or two while it hardens up, and then we'll poke that right into the styrofoam. Here's the little ornaments that I showed you guys in the beginning, and those are actually the smaller ones that we used for the entire ball last time. And now we're going to use those to fill any of the little gaps that we have in between the ornament. So go throughout each and every little section and add the ornaments where it's necessary. And it really depends on each and every ornament that you make because sometimes it's going to require more and sometimes it's going to require a little bit less. And if there's glue strings, you can always pull them off after they've hardened. Now I just have a little length of wire, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold that so that we create a U or a pin. You could also use a floral pin for this if you choose. Then just snip them slightly at an angle. We have some wire here today, and you can find this wire available at nicksseasonaldecor.com. What we're going to do is we're going to create a little knot. So we're going to tie it off. You want to tie it a couple of times to make sure. Pull it really tight, make sure it's not going anywhere. Take your scissors, snip off an excess. Cut yourself a nice long wire to be able to hang it from, a tree, a shepherd's hook, a lamppost. And the question I get always asked, and I'm going to cover that real quick, is when I tie this, I like to have a single string instead of a loop. So what I do is I just tie this to the branch. So imagine that's a tree branch, I just tie it right on. And if I choose to move it elsewhere, all I have to do is just snip off that wire and attach it somewhere else. So now that we have our little pin, we're going to really close that up. We don't need it super wide. Dip it in our glue skillet. And find a little opening. Make sure it goes into the styrofoam, and there you go. So then you have a nice long wire to hang it. You can also place this on a pole and create a topiary, but now let's see what this looks like hanging up from my tree. Here is how the hanging ball turned out. I absolutely love it. We kept it in a traditional color scheme, which just screams Christmas to me, so we used the golds, the reds, and the greens. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video inspired you. I'm Nick Kretikos of Nick's Seasonal Decor, and you're watching me on Home Talk.